Testing. All right. You can cut out that other.
Hey, yo, aim. Yeah. Run it up, Blondo.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Central Texas Football Podcast. I'm Kenney Heath coming to you live from the worldwide headquarters in Huron, Texas, and joined as always my buddy Ryan Fox. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. The playoffs are in full swing now. A lot of great games last week and a lot of exciting matchups this week as well. Ready to talk some high school football with you, sir.
Yeah, we'll recap ours real quick. We were in a humdinger, Whitney, Whitesboro there, and Irving, and man, just didn't take an easy breath until the final kneel down and the clock run out. Hey, hats off to Whitesboro, man. They're young, and really good football team.
They're going to be Whitesboro's going to be a problem. I know they're outside our coverage area, but seeing them play last week, like you said, they're young, and we talked about it on air. They're like 7th and 8th grade teams. Or I don't know if they're undefeated, but they were district champions.
Yeah, I saw a deal on social media where they're 7th grade, 8th grade, and JV team all one district.
Yeah, so they're going to be a problem for the next 5 years. I think, especially in this region, they're still going to be a sleeper probably when the playoffs start next year. But they're in the next 5 years now. Look out for Whitesboro; they're going to make some noise. I thought Mason Scarborough for them was really good. They didn't give him as many carries as they did their lead guy, number 4. Can't remember his name. I think it was Luke Knight or something like that. Mason Scarborough, he's really good. And then Colt Fagan, coach's son quarterback, he's only a junior. He'll be back next year. I think next year, with all the weapons they're bringing back, they're going to make it. I think they're going to have a nice little run.
Yeah.
And now we don't know if they're going to end up in Region 2. They're more north, so they could end up in Region 1. They're kind of on that border with realignment coming up in February. Not sure. But I think either way, with the success they're having at the lower levels and what we saw from a very young and scrappy team on last Thursday night, and they played in a very tough district and played in close games. I think the only game that they really got away from them was the Pilot Point game. But aside from that, they played Commerce tough. They played Pottsboro tough. Whitesboro is going to be a team to watch in 3A Division I for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, they looked really good. And like you said, they were in Region 1 a couple of years ago. Now they're in Region 2. It'd be interesting to see how that shakes out. But yeah, of course, Whitney didn't help themselves out much. The defense, just a lot of miscommunication or just not making the right calls is what the explanation I got.
And the onside kicks.
Yeah, and that's coming against Winsboro. That's coming.
100%. And Whitesboro, I mean, they emptied the bag. I mean, we probably saw 7 or 8 trick plays, but you could tell it's a very well-coached team. I think Coach Fagan over there does a fantastic job. He's been there. I think this was his 7th season with Whitesboro. They're going to be a problem for the next few years. I think they're well-coached. They have good athletes. They're really big up front. I'm probably going to be, even though they're going to be outside our coverage area until probably the playoffs start next year, but they're going to be a team to watch in 3A Division I.
Yeah, I always like keep an eye on teams like that you've played in the years past and just seeing how they're doing. Another game, real quick, we'll go back. Same district pairings as Pilot Point put it on West pretty good, and I was kind of surprised. I thought that was going to be a lot closer game, but
right.
And on the other hand, you look how Maypro hung 30-something points on Pottsboro, which is kind of surprising.
That really surprised me as well. I mean, Maypro put up points in their wins in district. But again, the bottom half of District 5 really wasn't that strong. It was kind of Whitney, Grandview West, and then kind of everybody else. And, of course, Maypro getting that 4th spot. But, yeah, that surprised me as well. Like I'm not sure how lights out Pottsboro's defense has been all year, but that kind of did surprise me. A lot of that probably – we didn't keep up with the score in the first half. A lot of that could have been some window dressing in the second half. But
I think it was pretty back and forth there early,
Okay.
I think Pottsboro ended up pulling away. And then you look at Grandview, kind of the opposite, Grandview-Palmer. Grandview got off to that big lead. And
yes, they did.
Palmer, kind of like a Whitesboro team that was down 3 scores 2 or 3 times, just kept clawing back. And Cisneros kid at quarterback for Palmer is very, very good, man. That dude is something else.
Yeah, and it was – they're a fantastic team. Palmer's always going to be solid in the future as well. But Grandview, it's a game we'll touch on later on, but that Grandview Gladewater game is going to be fantastic. I think Gladewater's probably slightly favored in that one, but you and I have seen a lot of Grandview football. They're tough. Coach Ebner does a great job over there. I think that's going to be a fantastic game, but we'll touch more on that later on in the show.
Did you happen to see any of the China Spring Belleville game? I watched the last. I watched the last probably 5 or 10 minutes in overtime, and that was golly. I finished the Grandview game and I just started scrolling through the phone and they were saying that's going in overtime. So I pulled it up, and man, hats off to Coach Beatty, the big time upset, and talked to some people over at China Springs, and Jackson Knapp didn't get to start at quarterback. They pulled up a kid and he's been up on varsity a couple of weeks, Jack Kennedy, and they ran a lot of Wildcat with Krishan Gregory, and man, that's a big win for Coach Beatty and them. And I think who they got coming up this week, that'll be, another game, but winnable for them if they keep playing like they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest shocks in the entire state, and China Spring will have Lamarck on Friday at 7:30 at Mustang Stadium in. Let's see where that game's at. I can't. Oh, there it is. Magnolia. They'll be playing in Magnolia, which makes sense. Lamarck is down south, but yeah, that's probably one of the biggest shocking results in the entire state of Texas. With China Spring, they finished the regular season 4-6. They only got 3 district wins against Connolly, Lorena, or 2 rather, only against Connolly and Lorena for that 4th spot. But yeah, Belleville, that was a 4 versus 1 seed. I think dang near everyone in the state had Belleville taking that one, but a great coaching job by Coach Beatty, especially filling in that quarterback spot as well. Made the adjustments and just probably had to play keep away a little bit from Belleville. Belleville runs that slot T, and they run it very, very well. And they probably had the great adjustments and a great game plan in the front 7 as well to kind of limit that Belleville offense. But yeah, I think running Krishan Gregory and the Wildcat, they're probably trying to play keep away a little bit and keep the ball out of Belleville's hands. But yeah, great job, great win for Coach Beatty and company.
Yeah, and last one, Mart, another 4 seed getting a win against Cumbie. A little tougher test this week with the Love Lady, but Coach Lancaster getting it done in the first round.
Yeah, fantastic job there. I mean, this Mart team's, like we talked about it before, before the by district in our preview last week. There probably wasn't a 4 seed in the entire state of Texas with more pedigree than Mart. And they're still talented, even though they're down from their standards, being in that tough district with Bremont, Chilton, and Goldthwaite. To get that big win in the first round, I think you and I had Mart winning that one in the first round. That district they're lined up with is, although Cumbie was the number 1 seed and won that district, I think Mart still was just the better team, and they proved it with that win last Friday night.
All right, why don't you start us off with the Matt Stepp question of the week?
All righty. So the question from Matt Stepp was, we asked him about a few under-the-radar games and a look at perhaps some potential upsets in some of the 2A playoff games we'll be looking at tonight. The first one, the games we listed for him were Dillon Frankston, should be a great game, Chilton Mount Enterprise, and then Mart and Love Lady. And Matt Stepp's answer first for the Frankston-Dillon game, he said it will be high scoring, but I think Frankston's team speed will be too much for Dillon. For the Chilton Mount Enterprise game, he says, I thought Chilton matched up with Mount Enterprise and still think they're best equipped to pull off the upset, but giving up 46 to Clarksville doesn't inspire confidence versus Kagan Ash this week. And then for the Mart Love Lady game, he said, I think Mart has a shot, but definitely an underdog this week. And we'll start with the Dillon Frankston game. Frankston is definitely the favorite in that one. Dillon's had a great season, and I think from Matt Stepp alluded to in his answer, I think for Frankston, they have a very high-powered offense, and they're very, very athletic. But Dillon has a great quarterback in Heston Jobe. I think, and again, what Matt Stepp alluded to, I think for Dillon to win this game, they're going to have to try to manufacture a stop or two, obviously, maybe force a turnover. but they might have to just simply outscore Frankston in like a 60-56 type game to try to move on here.
Yeah, I think DeLeon and Coach Whitaker's club over there. Just I looked at some of the stats on some games, big games, and they just got to take care of the ball.
Yeah.
Heston Jove's a really good quarterback. Just take care of the ball. They can score with just about anybody, and if they do get the win, it's going to be a big upset.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to do it, but I think it'll be interesting to definitely keep your eye on that one.
And then now to the Chilton Mount Enterprise game. Going into the playoffs, I think we kind of penciled this in as the round 2 matchup. But I don't think anyone, you and I especially, expected Chilton to give up 46 to Clarksville in the first time. They got the win, 50-46 was the final there. But yeah, giving up that many points in the first round, when on defensively, you've had a phenomenal season. Aside from the Bremont game, it's just how can Chilton match up with a guy like Keegan Ash and this Mount Enterprise team, one of the best rushing attacks in Class 2A, if not pound for pound in the state of Texas. Keegan Ash is a very special running back. But yeah, giving up a lot of points to Clarksville last week, and again, I think that surprised you and I, probably along with everybody else. It kind of, the way we thought about it was this would be an elite offense against an elite defense. But yeah, some question marks coming out of giving up 46 points to a Clarksville team in the bi-district round.
Yeah, and it's the playoffs. Things happen.
Right.
I'm not totally. I think you look at what Bremont did score on them, and what Nico Thomas, the basketball player, I guess he's still a basketball player, but his dad got the job, assistant coaching job at Chilton. He came over and phenomenal basketball player, took over at quarterback. He's rushed for 1,000, thrown for 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier, what's their running back's name? Xavier Taylor. Yeah, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. So they've got a potent offensive attack, but I think they just kind of like to muddy the waters and play good defense and slow the game down. But they definitely got some playmakers. That'll be a good one to watch. I don't know who's going to – I guess I'm going to lean towards Chilton since, they're in our area. But that'll be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Mount Enterprise, it's going to be a fun matchup to see. I mean, I don't think it's possible, especially at the 2A level, to stop a guy like Keegan Ash. But if they can slow him down and keep him under his game-per-game average – I think they'll have a chance. But moving on to Lovelady and Mart, this is going to be a tough matchup for Mart. Lovelady is really good, and these are two teams that have a playoff history.
Yeah, they've played each other before.
Quite a bit, and it's kind of gone back and forth. But Lovelady's been fantastic this year. And just talking about that Mount Enterprise team, the final score, because that Lovelady's in their district, 82-60, they lost to Mount Enterprise in that game. So, but I mean, Lovelady has had a tendency to give up points, but man, they score a lot of points. And this is their season games: 52, 40, 61, 41, 51, 44, 50, 60, 35, 69, and 76. So they can score some points. And
absolutely.
They scored 76 against Evadale last week in the bi-district round. Of course, Mart getting the big-time win, 40-6 over the 1-seed Cumbie Trojans. And Mart, it's kind of been the same way. They've scored a lot of points, but and even in the games where they've given up points, it's been competitive. It was only 8-point loss to Bremont. Then they got skunked 34-0 against Chilton, and they gave up 40 against Goldthwaite as well. But yeah, I think Mart, they have the pedigree here, but with this history, I'm kind of leaning towards Lovelady in this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
All right.
Let's start off on our preview. Orangefield versus Franklin Thursday night, Wood Forest Bank down in Montgomery area.
Shenandoah. Yeah, I like this one. 9-2 Orangefield, 8-2 Franklin. Orangefield's riding a 6-game winning streak going to this one, but Franklin, man, they're riding a 7-game winning streak of their own. And their 2 losses this year, 14 points to China Spring, which was kind of a little bit of a shocker at the beginning of the season. And then their other loss is to Salina, 33-22, a close game at Salina, one of the state championship game favorites. up in 4A. Are they Division 1 or Division 2? I think they're
They're
Division
D1.
1.
Salina's Division 1. Yeah.
So punching 2 classifications up to a damn good Salina team and only losing by 11 on the road. Yeah, I like Franklin in this one.
And then Tom Bean, Axtell, Thursday, 7 o'clock in Kaufman. I listened to the Trib podcast, and Michael Hay, who's been on the show last week, does a great job.
Yep.
Tom Bean throws the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, they do.
Their quarterback is thrown for over 3,000 yards, and Michael said that he's got a 80% completion percentage.
Unbelievable.
So Horn was kind of he had talked to Coach Horn, and Horn thought, hey, they're they don't want it to be windy because they're going to throw the ball. Well, it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, so that may have an effect. Even though I'm still going to go with Axtell. I think Axtell's really athletic, and I think that kind of plays into them. They're not that big, so if you want to throw the ball, we'll just put some defenders out there and gamble with that.
Yeah, I like Axtell in this one as well. Their defense has been phenomenal all season long. They've given up a collective 58 points through 11 games, and they've had a kind of. I think Axel's schedule's been a little bit tougher too. The only head scratcher was the 6-point loss to Kearns, but beating Crawford, a regional, probably one of the favorites in that region as well, aside from Axtell, 34-7, getting a 31-13 victory against Cayuga last week to start their playoff run. I like Coach Horn's Longhorns in this one. I think Tom Bean will pose some troubles, but if it is rainy and windy, I think you said it perfectly, Kenny. It's going to play right into the type of game that Axtell wants to play.
Yeah, and they like to throw the ball too, but they'll run it. And Levi Leathers can run the football. He's had some big plays with his legs. All right, let's go. Robinson, West Orange start Friday, 7 o'clock in Spring, Texas. Man, Robinson, just hard to really bet against them right now. They're playing really well. They've got a lot of talent. I know on Halloween, the Waco Trib, not Michael, not Bryce, the other, Chad Conine did a story on Halloween about M&Ms, McCurdy and Marino. But there's that third one in Dylan Medlock, man. What a great receiver. They kind of got a triplets, three-headed monster there with McCurdy, Marino, and Medlock. And their offense, McCurdy's a 3-star quarterback prospect, got tons of offers. They don't need him to throw for 300 yards a game because they got a really good running game with Marino. So his stats just don't shoot out at you. But man, he's a player, and I'm going to go with Coach Brown and his Rockets in that one.
Yeah, I like the Rockets as well. Both of these teams have one common opponent in 2025, and that's La Vega. La Vega defeated West Orange Star 44-20, and then one of the top games that we covered throughout the regular season. Robinson and La Vega beat Robinson, but it was 31-27, a much tougher game. I think Robinson's really battle-tested, especially coming out of this district, facing these teams like Gatesville and La Vega and so on. I like Robinson in this one as well.
All right, this is another good one. Yoakum, Fairfield, 7 o'clock, Belton at Tiger Stadium. Fairfield's just been lights out. And Cole Collins and the wide receiver, Katie, I forgot his name, Finn Smith. I think there is a Brackens playing for him. He's the running back. But then you got a Yoakum team that comes from a really tough district, really tough schedule. So it's kind of, I don't think Fairfield's really played anybody tough, but I still think they got the firepower to do it, and it wouldn't surprise me if they get a victory Friday night.
Yeah, I think Yoakum's definitely the more battle-tested team. They have 2 losses, a 14-point loss against a really good 4A team in Cuero, and then the 28-10 loss to Columbus, which is their lone loss in district, which helped them finish with the number 2 seed going into the playoffs. I like Yoakum in this one. I know Fairfield's undefeated, but Yoakum's really good. Fairfield's really good, obviously, but Yoakum's really good too. But Fairfield, I mean, they're still a phenomenal team. I'm not going to be shocked if they win whatsoever. But something's telling me about Yoakum, man. I mean, especially with the little bit tougher schedule they played. I do like Yoakum in this one, but I will not be shocked if Fairfield moves to 12-0.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart pick. Shout out to – so I found out today that one of my old buddies, his son plays for Yoakum. So Shout out to Cason Pleasant if you're out there. I worked with his dad, Ronald Pleasant, for a long time. Good dude. Yeah, if I had to bet, I would pick Yoakum on that one.
All right.
All right,
This
let's
next
go.
one,
You go ahead.
Grapeland and Bremond. Grapeland and Bremond. This will be a fantastic game. Friday night, 7 o'clock at Mustang Stadium in Madisonville, a great stadium. Definitely one of the big playoff hubs down there in kind of Central Texas. Grapeland coming in 8-3 on the season. They won in their by-district round against Deweyville, 50-21. Of course, Bremond undefeated on the year, 11-0. 31-point victory against Sims Bowie. Kind of ran through that district, dominated every game, aside from the Mark game where they won by 8. Kind of dominated the rest of the field in pre-district and district. I think Bremond's going to be too much for Grapeland here, though. I like the Tigers in this one.
Yeah, well, isn't this is a rematch, right?
Yes, they played.
The
So they played back in week 2, and Bremond won it 54-43 in kind of a shootout there. And it'll probably, I think it is hard to beat a good team twice. With Grapeland, Grapeland's a good team.
Yeah,
but I think Bremond, even though they were really good, we've been high on them since the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've only gotten better throughout the season, especially building a lot of confidence, kind of running through that district. I think Bremond's going to win again. I don't think it'll be as close as it was the first time.
Yeah, it's just hard to bet against Tank Scott. He's a two-way all-state stud, and then Sam Kozowski, the coaches kid at quarterback. So, yeah, I'll go with Bremond on that one.
We got, again, we touched on a little bit before, DeLeon and Frankston. Again, Frankston's definitely the favorite here. Again, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. Heston Jobe, really good quarterback for DeLeon. But yeah, I think Frankston's definitely one of the favorites out of this region. I do like the Indians in this one, though, but I think it'll be a really close game.
Yeah, I agree. I think DeLeon can go score with them.
Yeah.
But Frankston really close game against Scurry Rosser, 5-point game, so they really haven't been tested this year. Bosqueville scored 29 on them last week, but yeah, I'll go with Frankston.
All right, and our next game, Corsicana Mildred against Hamilton on Friday night, 7 o'clock. This game's going to be played at Robinson's Rocket Field. Mildred coming in 9-2. They got their by-district win against Dawson last week, 40-14. Hamilton 9-2, coming off a 42-20 victory against Tioga. What do you see in this one, Kenny?
I like Hamilton. I don't think Mildred. I think last year they were 10-0 going into the playoffs. And I think they went around 2 or 3 rounds. I'm going to go with Hamilton in this one. I forgot the coach. I forgot coach's name over there, but man, he's got a good little program started. That regional finalist or regional champion last year, state semifinalist. Big win against DeLeon to close out district play. So I'm going to go with Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton's riding a 6-game win streak. They've won 7 of the last 8. Their only 2 losses on the season or by a combined 5 points. Lost by 2 against Crawford on the road, then lost by 3 points to a good San Saba team. And it is, I like Hamilton in this one as well, but I think it's going to be really close. I really think this is a coin flip type game. Mildred's been really good this year. But give me the Hamilton Bulldogs to just slightly edge Mildred in this one.
All right, here we go. Winsboro, Whitney, 7 o'clock Friday in Rockwall. Winsboro's got a really good offense, and Whitney's secondary struggled last week. And wasn't a whole lot of just 1-on-1 matchups where Whitney got beat. It was just like it was blown coverages, and there was nobody within 30 yards of a receiver type deal. And I don't know. I did talk to Coach Haynes. I do his coach show, and I said, and I actually said I had to apologize. I said, man, I don't know if you listened to us, but there was at one point where I was speculating if it was a personnel problem, a scheme problem, or what it was. And he's like, oh, it was all of it. And, and I said, they got a lot of work to do. He's like, yeah, we did have a lot of work to do. And it's just about making our calls and stuff like that. So maybe they'll get that figured out. And, another thing that kind of plagued them last Friday was the onside kick. And that's the same thing that got them against Winsboro 3 years ago.
Yep.
I think that Winsboro recovered 2 or 3 onside kicks in a row. And that's just one of those things that, It seemed to me that maybe the kids up front didn't know the rule that they could go in that within 10 yards, just go field the ball. You don't have
Yeah,
to wait for
they
somebody to come plow you over or whatever. Go get the ball.
they
They
can't
keep,
they can't they can't touch you until it goes past 10 yards. That's
yeah,
absolutely right. And that's and looking at film, kind of prepping for this game. We'll be broadcasting it on Friday night. That has not changed. Josh Finney is a really aggressive coach. They still onside, a surprise onside, or sometimes they don't even hide it. They just go right at you. They have a really good quarterback in Noli Carroll. They have a electric offense, probably the fastest wide receiver in Class 3A in Camden Capehart. He's a back-to-back state champion in the 100-meter dash. Fantastic athlete, great receiver. And again, going back to that game 2 years ago in the regional semifinal round where Winsboro won 72-17, Camden Capehart was unguardable that game. He just kind of, and again, it wasn't one of those things to where, it wasn't even like a blown coverage thing back in the time. It was just Camden Capehart with his tremendous speed was just running by everybody. I mean, he's just really, really fast, and he's been a problem for every secondary he's gone against, not just this year, but his entire career. And it will be a challenge because this Whitney secondary struggled mightily last week against the Whitesboro team. And I think, again, another thing that really hurt Whitney was the play action. They kind of bit down because Whitesboro was trying to establish the run game, and they were kind of hit or miss with it. I think they had more success when they gave it to Mason Scarborough as opposed to Luke Knight. But they, whenever it got to the point where they're running the ball and they're getting the Whitney linebackers and safeties to kind of come up, I mean, there's one play where they kind of faked the jet sweep and just sent the tight end up the seam. And like you said, there's no one within 30 yards of him. And I think play action and sweeps and quarterback read options, that's something that Winsboro specializes in. So it's going to be a huge test for this Whitney defense. And I think like what we were talking about earlier with the Dillion Frankston game, I think for not just for Whitney, but both sides, it's probably going to be the first team to 50 wins this game.
It's going to be in a team for sure, I would think. I mean,
I don't think the score is going to be too dissimilar to what we saw last Thursday night, like a 61-55 final with Whitney and Whitesboro. I would not be shocked in the slightest if the final score of this one, regardless of who wins, will be in the same range.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fireworks, probably a little bit of the same that we had last week where you just really can't relax until the game's over. Even Whitney had 3-score leads 2 or 3 times, and it was just hard to relax because you knew that Whitesboro found something. They found something they liked, and going into halftime just didn't feel easy up by 14 or 13. And I was like, man, I got a bad feeling. And sure enough, Coach Fagan is a good coach, and they schemed it. They made adjustments, and they came out and never quite took the lead or never tied it, but got within 5 points a couple of times. So I'm going to go Whitney because I am a homer, and I want to see this team go keep on playing. Nothing against Winsboro. They're a fantastic club. And, they got some Capehart is a Mississippi State commit. Nellie Carroll is a great quarterback. So ought to be a good one. I'll pick Whitney in this one.
Yeah, well, Kobe Haynes, he really put on the Superman cape last week. He really did the last 2 games. He has 12 total touchdowns in his last 2 games. He had 6 against West. Against West, he had 4 through the air and 2 on the ground. And then in the by-district game last week against Winsboro, he broke the all-time single-game rushing touchdown record for Whitney with 5. He also had another touchdown through the air, that 71-yarder to KJ O'Hearn. And it might be one of those cases where he has to do it again, it's honestly crazy to say because also Jonte Johnson had over 200 rushing yards.
A very quiet 31 carry, 200-yard day.
Very quiet. But they've been fantastic. Johnson's up to 21 touchdowns on the year. Kobe Haynes is up to 37 on the year. If you remember, earlier in the year, he started at receiver when Fisher Watson was at quarterback. Or Watson got hurt leading up into the Grandview game, the district opener. Kobe Haynes has taken over, and ever since he's been put under center, I mean, he's been virtually unstoppable. There really hasn't been an offense that's been able to slow him, or a defense rather, that's been able to slow him down yet. And again, 12 touchdowns the last 2 games. It's a tall order. It doesn't matter who they're playing, it's a tall order to try to stop Jonte Johnson and Kobe Haynes at the same time. So it'll be the problem for Whitney here is going to be can their secondary try to limit the damage that Camden Capehart can produce at the wide receiver spot. Now, I think Capehart's still going to get his. I think he's still in line to have a massive game. And again, with Noli Carroll, fantastic quarterback, it's going to be a shootout. That's all it boils it down to. This is going to be a shootout.
Well, it's funny because the shootout we had last week came down to 2 fourth-down plays there at the end. Whitesboro had a first down, went through a receiver's hands, hit the guy behind him in the gut because it deflected. And then Whitney with, a minute 40 left or a minute and a half left, 4th and 2, like on Whitesboro's 35-yard line, gave it to Jonte Johnson. He got the yardage, and they were able to kneel it out. So it's weird how back and forth game, high scoring, it just comes down to those two little plays there at the end.
All right, so we'll move on now up to Class 4A, Silsbee versus La Vega. This will be played Friday night in Jacksonville at the Tomato Bowl. This should be a really good game. La Vega is really good. Silsbee's really good. Silsbee's been good the last few years. What do you see in this one, Kenny?
I just see KJ Parr and Jabari Thornton and the kind of the running back by committee, which I think the guy that had over 100 yards, I forgot his name, but I think he's kind of been consistent with that. Then you got Caden Rowland on the defensive side. They got a big offensive lineman named Zeus that I love watching his highlight films because I think I was watching one of their running backs highlight films or maybe KJ Parr's. I just see this big left tackle just smoking dudes, pancake them and laying on top of them. And I found his Twitter, and man, he's something else. But I just think La Vega's a little too much for him. La Vega may not get tested, maybe next round, but I think La Vega's kind of hitting their stride, and they're looking pretty good. And I'm going to go with the Pirates.
Yeah, I like the Pirates in this one too. And with La Vega, their 2 losses came against perennial state contenders against Salina and Stephenville, both those on the road. Now they're now riding a 6-game win streak. Dominant victory against LaGrange last week, 42-0. Give me Coach Don Hyde and the Pirates as well.
And then we got Harker Heights, Forney, 7 o'clock Friday, in Mansfield.
Newsom Stadium is a fantastic place to watch a football game. I've seen a couple playoff games there. A couple years ago, I watched a Salina-Stephenville playoff game there. That was really exciting. This should be a great game. Harker Heights has been fantastic all season long. Don't know much about Forney, but typically the last few years they've been pretty darn good, and they have a great stadium as well. With this one, though, I think Forney, they're 9-2, and their 2 losses are coming against a Waxahachie team that's been fantastic all year, and then a North Forney team who Matt Stepp has as the favorite to win Region 2. So that could be a potential rematch if they're able to get past Harker Heights here. But with Forney, I mean, they've been fantastic too. They have great wins against Rockwall, a really good Rockwall Heath team, and a really great win back in week 2 against A&M Consolidated. This one's kind of a coin flip for me. I kind of do want to go Homer here, though, in this particular situation. Harker Heights with a really solid first-round win against Cedar Hill as well. I think this is a coin flip type game, but I'm going to go Homer here and give me the Harker Heights Knights.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you. Forney did, like you said, lost to North Forney, lost to Waxahachie by 2 scores. Harker Heights, man, they've they won their district, beat Midway, Temple, Coppers Cove. Who else? Pretty not the greatest district in the state, but a pretty good Shoemaker, a really athletic Shoemaker team didn't even make the playoffs, which is surprising. So I like where you're going with it. I'll go with Harker Heights too.
Now, next, back down in Class 2A Division 2, we have Lovelady versus Martin. Again, we touched on with the Matt Stepp question. This game will be played Friday night at 7 o'clock in Palestine, Texas, home of Adrian Peterson, one of the running backs of my youth, just showing my infant age.
Yeah, about to say, don't even say showing your age.
Yeah, but I think Mart, one of the perennial, probably one of the most 4 seeds with the most pedigree in the state of Texas, but I think Lovelady is going to be a bit too much for them here. I like the Lions in this one.
I'm going to go with Coach Lancaster. I think Mark, they got the run game going on last week. Quinn Preston rushed for, let's see, I got stats. 12 for 147 and 3 touchdowns. Carmelo Medlock, 17 for 137 yards. So they rushed for quite a bit of yards last week. I'm going to go with Coach Lancaster, man. I think maybe they found something.
I like it. So now up to Class 3A Division 1, Region 2. This team will get the winner of the Whitney-Winsboro game. We have Malakoff taking on Pottsboro. This should be a doozy of a game. Pottsboro has a really good passing attack. Malakoff has been fantastic. They opened the district with the 50-31 loss to Commerce, but since then they've been absolutely fantastic. They already own a win against Winsboro, 24-7 in the regular season finale. The district finale as well. They got a solid one against Liberty Ilu last week, 28-13. I think for me here, there's still just kind of the head scratcher with Pottsboro giving up 35 points to Maypearl. It's a 1 seed versus 4 seed game. They're still able to score 56 points and come out with the 3-score victory, but that one kind of has me scratching my head a little bit. Pottsboro has the better record, 10-1. I think Malakoff, though, I'm kind of leaning towards Jamie Driscoll's club here with Malakoff, and I think Jarian Hall is a key difference maker in this game. One of the best running backs in 3 Division 1, no doubt about it. Probably the best running back in the region, maybe right there with Jonte Johnson, but Jarian Hall a little bit more proven when it comes to playoff runs and such with Malakoff. I think this is going to be a fantastic game, but I like Malakoff in this one.
Yeah, I think I do too. Way back early in the season, I watched the Lorena Malakoff game, and Jarian Hall went out early in that game, and Malakoff was just a different team without him.
Yep, he's the straw that stirs the drink for that team.
So I think Pottsboro is going to have to contain him. Talking to Terry at sideline to sideline, he thinks Pottsboro is probably the most capable passing team in the region. They can throw the ball really well. So, and I think Malakoff's probably got from. I know that Jackson Blancett kind of lit them up a little bit earlier in the year, but I think they got the athletes in there to play well. So I like Malakoff in this one.
As do I. And now moving back up to Class 4A, we have the Dumas Demons versus the Stephenville Yellow Jackets. This one will be Friday, 7 o'clock in Vernon. Yeah, I like Stephenville in this one. I think Stephenville's – I think they're clearly the favorite in this region. I don't think there's any question about that. They've been absolutely dominant, all year long. I really don't think this game's going to be particularly close. Dumas is a really good team. They're 8-3, got a nice win, putting up 83 points against El Paso Riverside in the by-district round last week. Really good offense. They've scored a lot of points all year long, but Stephenville's just a different beast.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Yellow Jackets.
All righty. Now back down to 3 Division 1. I think this game's going to be a doozy as well. Grandview versus Gladewater. This will be Friday night, 7 o'clock at Kaufman Lions Stadium. What do you see in this one, Kenny?
Man, I don't know. Grandview started off really well last week on offense. Palmer was down big. At halftime, people were looking at the message boards and stuff, and Palmer came back. So I think they're going to have to do something on that defense to kind of figure out what Palmer saw. Now Palmer has the Cisneros brothers, and the quarterback is just so slippery, man. He can get out of all kinds of trouble and buys all kinds of time, and he's going to eventually find somebody open downfield. If not, he'll tuck it and run for 15 or 20 yards. So I don't know that they're going to see that type of athlete against Gladewater, but just I don't know a whole lot about Gladewater, but their resume looks pretty dang good. Being a district champion in that district is really something. Atlanta, I saw them a little bit of them in Winsboro play last week. Texarkana Iverson. I don't know. It just depends. To me, depends on which Grandview shows up with that defense with Blue Hubbard and Elijah Dominguez and Casey Sanders and the
Yeah.
freshman Yance back there. Those dudes can play really good defense.
Yes, they can.
They seem to be healthy. This is to me, it's just a pick 'em, a toss up. I'll go Grandview because they're 20 minutes as the crow flies down the road from me, but there's no telling what's going to happen in this one.
I think Gladewater, probably in some people's eyes, at least mine at least, is probably the dark horse of this region. You know, when you look at this region, you obviously talk about your Pottsboroughs and your Malakoffs and your Winsboroughs and teams like that. But Gladewater, they're not the team to sleep on. Their one loss on the year is a 1-point loss at home to West Rusk. And ever since then, they've been absolutely dominant. 34-point win against a solid team in Mount Vernon. I'm kind of leaning towards Gladewater here, but I'm with you. It's a pick 'em. I think it's a coin flip type game, but I think my pick, I think Gladewater. I think it'll go back and forth for most of the game, but I think in the fourth quarter, Gladewater will kind of slightly pull away a little bit. Maybe at worst draw it out to like a 10 to 14 point lead towards the end. But I like Gladewater in this one.
I could see it happening for sure.
All right.
That game in where's the Malakoff Pottsboro game? Is that in Greenville?
That's in Greenville, yes, sir. At
I had to ask
Fort.
about that. I didn't know if I had the right one.
All righty. Now back
All right,
down to Class
proceed.
2A. This should be a good one, Kenny.
Think so?
What?
I don't think it's going to be a good one. Rosebud Lot Refugio? I think Refugio probably drags them. But, hey, I hope they don't because I like Coach Brandon Hicks and Price Ray Broker and all the dudes over there. But, man, this just seems like a mismatch to me.
Yeah, Refugio is really good this year. This will be Friday night, 7 o'clock at New Braunfels Stadium. I do like Brandon Hicks. I used to do his coach's show at ESPN. Really think highly of him and the job he's done at Rosebud Law. But, yeah, I think, Refugio is just a different beast. They were down a little bit, maybe last year, the last couple years. But, yeah, I think they're back on track to their winning ways. Obviously, they're unbeaten going in this game. I really haven't been pushed that much. They won by 12 points against Weimar last week. Probably
that's the closest game of the year is that first round game.
That game was definitely a lot closer than probably what most people thought.
Maybe we should have had this on the Matt Stepp question. Maybe Rosebud can go down there. They've definitely got the athletes. You know, they can they can get it done. So it'll be interesting. But I just don't think they got enough for Refugio.
Yeah, Refugio will probably take this one as well, but definitely gonna be rooting for Coach Brandon Hicks and company. Now back up to Class 4A, Friday night, 7 o'clock at the Mustang Bowl in Sweetwater. We have Seminole taking on Glen Rose. Glen Rose, again, they started the season off 0-5, but kind of stormed back, kind of ran through that district. Got a by-district win, 14 points against Mineral Wells last week. So they're 6-5 going to this one. Seminole's 8-3. They finished as the 2 seed out of their district, only losing in a 10-3 game to Midland Greenwood. I think Seminole has the slight advantage in this one, but it's hard to count out those Glen Rose Tigers, especially how gritty they've been this season. Because starting off 0-5, you could honestly just throw in the towel. I know, that's all pre-district play, but they didn't. They've been resilient. Coach Watkins over there does a fantastic job. And when you look at their pre-district schedule, it's kind of a gauntlet. Grandview, Gatesville, Brownwood, Robinson, and Alvarado. So how many teams can you say are going to come out with at least 2 or 3 wins in that stretch? But again, ran through district, nice by-district win, but I think Seminole will take this one.
Well, if you look at that schedule, while you got it pulled up, the Brownwood game was a 6-point game. Robinson's a 1-point game. Alvarado's a 5-point game. Then they string off 6 in a row. So Coach Watkins is, they lost a couple early. Now the Grandview Gatesville game, I don't know how that, it's a more than 2-score game, but they came back and lost to a good Brownwood team and 2 teams, Alvarado and Robinson, that are still playing. And did what they needed to do in district. So I'm going to go with Coach Watkins. I think he's got these dudes rolling. I think they kind of, I think at the beginning of the year, they didn't really know who was going to play quarterback, the Males kid or somebody else. And I think they got people where they need them. And I'm going to go Tigers, Glen Rose Tigers.
I like it.
Nuclear power plant money they got over there.
Right. So we'll go back down to Class 2A Division 1. We have Kennedy at 9-2 taking on the Crawford Pirates, who are 10-1 on the year. The coaching job by Coach Ty Robinson at Crawford has been fantastic this year. He's gotten them back to their winning ways. Nice win, 29-7 over Johnson City last week in the by-district round. Their defense has been great all year long. Aside from the Axtell game where they lost 34-7, but still overall they've been fantastic. Kennedy's 9-2. They've been solid as well. They started off 0-2 in district, but fought their way back with nice, dominant victories against that Weimar team that played Refugio close, beat them 41-14. Got a nice 34-6 win over Santa Maria in the by-district round. I like Crawford in this one, though. I think Ty Robinson, again, has done a fantastic job so far. I think he keeps the Pirates rolling here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Coach Robinson is, first year there, coming over from Woodville. I think he's been fantastic getting that program back to where we're used to seeing it, competing for state championships, which they're not yet. But, just 3 or 4 years ago, we went over to Mineral Wells and watched them play Holly in the state semifinals. It was a great game. I think Holly kind of pulled away there at the end, but, man, it was competitive just about the whole time. So, yeah, I'll go with Crawford.
All right. Our next game, moving back up to Class 4 Division 2, we have Lamarck at 9-2 taking on the 4-7 China Spring Cougars. This game will be Friday night at 7:30. Be played in Magnolia. What do you see in this one, Ken? We don't really know much about Lamarck. They're down South Texas, 9-2.
Yeah, down the coast. I see that kind of what China Springs has been doing the last, I guess, all year. They're just going to pull out every stop. They're going to have Christian Gregory lined up at running back. They're going to put him at wide receiver. They're going to put him at quarterback with the Wildcat. They pulled a kid off of JV and put him up on varsity a couple times and started him. I think it was a coach's decision on Knapp and that kid, and they went with the kid that was on JV just because I thought maybe it kind of give him a little spark. So Jack Kennedy's his name, and just didn't light up the scoreboard with stats, but they won the football game, and that's what counts. So I'm going to go with Coach Beatty. I mean, he's that was a really good Belleville team, and I know they run the IT like Franklin did, but I mean, football's football. Assignment football is assignment football, and you got some kids that can go out there and that are smart and listen and make plays, and that's all you need. And I'm going to go with China Spring again.
Yeah, I think China Spring is definitely by far in this game the more battle-tested team. You look at their schedule: Franklin, Bastrop, Waco U, Springtown, Brownwood, and then of course in that district with La Vega, Gatesville, Robinson. I think they're again by far the more battle-tested team.
I'm sure those players are probably telling Coach Beatty, "Hey, man, tap the brakes this time around when you get this scheduling done. We're playing 5A teams, and let's ease up a little bit, buddy."
And Lamarck, they got a 3-point win in the by-district round against Hampshire Finette. That was a 2 versus 3 seed game. I don't know, man. You might have sold me a little bit. I might like China Spring in this one, but why not? I'll go full homer mode on this one. We don't know much about Lamarck, but looking at their schedule, aside from the Hitchcock game, which they lost by 21 points, and then I think Columbia is a solid team down south. I don't know too much about them, but they're usually pretty solid from what I understand, and they only lost that game by 2. But yeah, I think with how much China Spring's been battle tested. Again, I've used that term a million times in this game, but I think it'll pay dividends, that tough pre-district schedule, and of course going through that really tough district with Robinson and La Vega. I think it could very well pay dividends here. Screw it, I'll take China Spring as well.
Yeah, and I know Jackson Knapp was nicked up. He missed a game or two, and or maybe a half, I think. And so it may just get him back healthy sitting out. I don't know if he played any snaps on. I didn't see anything in the write up, but yeah, I just think they're going to be out there, and they're probably going to be kind of like Whitesboro was last week. Trick plays and different type of things, and I think they can pull it off.
All righty, so we will stay in Class 4 Division 2. We have Rockport Fulton at 7-4. going against the Salado Eagles at 8-3. This game will be played Friday night at 7:30 down in San Antonio. What do you see in this one, Kenny?
Well, we cover, we went over Slato a little bit. I'm pulling up some stats. I thought they had a kid that could throw the ball pretty well. Let's see. Let me pull it up here.
The only film I saw from them was prepping for the Whitney Little River Academy game.
Yeah.
Academy had played Salado, and I do remember Salado's quarterback in the film looking really good against what was ended up being a not a stout Little River Academy defense, but definitely a physical one. I mean, he was taking a lot of hits that game, but he would stay in the pocket and really sling the ball out. What's their quarterback's name for Salado?
Well, they've split time. There's two guys with stats.
Okay.
Foster, they got a sophomore in Landon Owens and a senior in what's his name, Devontae Foster, and then they got a running back, Luke Bingham, that has rushed for over 1,000 yards. So, I just don't know. And that's not my fault for not doing my due diligence. I just don't know enough about either one of these teams. But I'm going to go Salado. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Got friends down there in Salado. I'm going to roll with them.
Yeah, honestly, I think this game's a coin flip. Rockport Fulton does own a win over Cuero, 57-56, and they lost in the district finale against Sinton, 31-0 to claim that number 2 seed out of district. This was kind of tough. They opened the season with a 6-point loss to a really good Orange Grove team that we touched on earlier. This one's a coin flip, but I'm kind of feeling Rockport Fulton in this one. But I would not be surprised if Salado. I think this is going to be a one-possession game. I think Salado could take it, but I'll go Rockport Fulton in this one.
What do we got next?
Chilton and Mount Enterprise.
I got sidetracked. Sorry, Ron. Chilton and Mount Enterprise. This will be This could be a barn burner here, dude.
I think so. Friday, 7:30 at Kemp is where this one will be going down. Chilton, like we mentioned earlier, Chilton's defense has been stout all year. Kind of a hiccup last week against Clarksville, like we mentioned earlier. Mount Enterprise, Kagan Ash, one of the top running backs in the entire state of Texas. This is another coin flip game. I think barn burner is the perfect term to describe this one. I think again, like we said earlier, I think what it will boil down to is, can Chilton with which Chilton defense are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that's been stout all year, or the team that kind of lays an egg against Chilton or against Clarksville and gives up 46 points? Because going on the other side against Kagan Ash, they're going to give up some points with Kagan Ash in the backfield. But can they limit him with the stout defense that they've displayed for most of the season? This is kind of a coin flip for me. I'm not sure who to take here, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with Chilton just because they have the potential of playing a really good defense, and you're not going to shut down the Mount Enterprise running back. I mean, he's going to get his yards. I think the key is you kind of bend, don't break. Let him get all his yards between the 20s, and once you get inside the 20, buckle down and tighten up. And I've seen it done before. I've seen a Zach Urbanchek run for 270 yards in a game, and them only score 7 points. So at Troy, that third-round playoff game against Whitney. So it can be done. But I don't think you're going to do that. I think they're going to score. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think kind of like the first round with Chilton, they're going to get going. And, they've got Xavier Taylor and Marnico, or Nico Thomas as they call him. He's rushed for over 1,200 yards. Taylor's rushed over 1,000 yards. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a lot of rushing yards. I'd put the over-under about 800 yards on rushing yards for both teams because they're going to get after it. And maybe not that much, but, 700, something like that. So, I'm going to go with Chilton in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning towards Mount Enterprise here, and I picked a lot against Central Texas tonight. My goodness, but yeah, it's a coin flip, man. But I'm just slightly leaning towards Mount Enterprise because of what a difference maker Kagan Ash is. I mean, he's a fantastic running back. Chilton's got a fantastic defense, but we'll see. Like you said, if they can tighten up in the red zone and keep them out of the end zone and not have them score every possession, I think, bend don't break, exactly like you said. I think they have a really good chance here. I think they have a really good chance anyway, but I'm kind of leaning towards Mount Enterprise, so I will go with the Tigers by the narrowest of margins in this one.
All right, so we need to apologize. Last week when we did our preview, 3AD2, I didn't go down to Region 4, and we didn't talk about Rogers, didn't talk about Lexington, but Rogers didn't make it. They got beat in the first round. But Lexington is back, and they're against George West. Case Evans last week, let's see, they beat Wallace Brazos 41-42, kind of a close game there. Don't know a whole lot about them. George West, they come in, what's their record? 11-0. So this is going to be a pretty good one because they're the number one seed out of their district. Lexington finished second, and theirs Blanco beat them. So this ought to be a good one. I've listened and saw some things. A lot of people are picking Lexington in this game. It ought to be a barn burner. I'll pick Lexington. I'll go ahead and go with them. Case Evan goes off in this one.
Yeah, I was about to say you couldn't catch me dead betting against Case Evans and company. So I'll take Lexington in this one as well. But I think this game will also be a barn burner. I think it's going to come down to the final possession. George West is a really good team. They've been good for a while down there in Region 4. But, I mean, big Case Evans fans, you and I are. I will take the Lexington Eagles in this one.
Now this next game has been on a bunch of people's game of the week type deals. Sulphur Springs, Alvarado, DeMarcus Belton at Alvarado is a tremendous running back. He catches the ball in the backfield. He runs it. Alvarado's undefeated on the year. Did have a couple of close calls. We just talked about one of them. I think one of them was Robinson. One of them was Glen. Everybody was. I think it was on. Like the strength of schedule just doesn't equal out. Alvarado just really hasn't played a whole lot of tough. I mean, they played some tough teams, but not like Sulphur Springs has.
Right. Yeah, and Silver Springs, you look at their schedule, their one loss on the year is again a 24-point loss at Salina, but they played Mount Pleasant, a really good Aubrey team, was typically a good Aubrey team, beating them. Got a nice 3-point win against Paris, one against Panther Creek, and then a dominant first-round victory against Kimball. I like Sulphur Springs in a very tight one here, but Alvarado, man, it's hard to pick this one. But I think, like you said, the strength of schedule is Sulphur Springs has gone through a gauntlet throughout the year. But again, Alvarado has also played good teams. They beat a really good Robinson team, 63-28. Then, of course, that shootout against Glen Rose, 55-50. And they kind of ran through that district. It wasn't a difficult district by any means. Ranchview, Lake Worth, Waxahachie Life, Castleberry, and Kennedale. But yeah, and then they ran in the first round. They ran to Riverside, which hats off to Carter Riverside with their first playoff berth. And I don't know how many years. It's been a while, but congrats to them. But they ran into a buzzsaw in Alvarado 77-0 in that one. I think Sulphur Springs is definitely more battle tested, but Alvarado has yet to lose. It's tough for me to pick, but I'm gonna slightly go again by the narrowest of margins with Sulphur Springs. But I would not be shocked in the slightest if Alvarado pulls this one.
I agree with you. I'd love to pick Alvarado coach Casey Walraven. Yeah, Coach Walraven.
Yep. Cleveland boy.
Yeah, and former Grandview coach back before Brad Davis came over, and then Coach Ebner got it. Yeah, I'd like to pick Alvarado. DeMarcus Belton is a tremendous football player. The quarterback there is really good too. But it's just Sulphur Springs looks really well. I don't go and break down their film, but just looking at their resume and what other people are saying, they seem like they're a pretty stout football team. So I'm going to go with Sulphur Springs as well.
All right, and the final game of our preview, the lone Saturday game on the slate.
Yeah.
Bastrop versus Waco U. This is going to be played at Crusader Stadium.
That is my favorite place to watch a high school football playoff game is at Crusader.
Fantastic.
I like that. They got the lower bowl seats.
Yes.
Then you can stand up on the concourse and just follow. You're right there on the field. You can just walk and follow the game all the way from end zone to end zone. It's a cool place to watch a football game. I like it there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We saw Whitney play a first round game there in 2019 against Lago Vista, which that game was something else. But either way, it's a fantastic facility. It's the only time I've ever been to UMHB. I've wanted to go more time since then, but still haven't made the trip out there to see a game out here since. Fantastic facility, awesome game. Saturday at 2:00.
2 years ago, I think, West Tig in the first round, I think, and it was kind of rainy, so you couldn't take advantage of the crosswalk, so you had to sit there and hunt underneath the covers. But it was a pretty good game there. Came down to the last play of the game.
And so with Bastrop and Waco U's kind of been, they've been good, but not consistency really hasn't been a word that you could define University with. But they're still really good. 7-4. They got a nice win at home in the bi-district round against Fort Bend Marshall, 35-27. Bastrop with a dominant victory against San Antonio Burbank, 62-0. They're 10-1 on the year, and they've kind of just, aside from the Liberty Hill game in the regular season finale where they lost 42-14 to claim the number 2 seed, they've kind of ran through everyone, including China Spring, including Burbank last week in the bi-district round. I think Waco U has played a little bit of a tougher schedule, but Bastrop looks really good. They're not only are they scoring seemingly 60 to 70 points a game. I mean, their lowest scoring output in the regular season was 48 against China Spring. The other scores 55, 70, 60, 69, 62, 71, 62, 70, and then at least their lowest scoring output in wins. They lost 42-14 to Liberty Hill, but yeah, they've looked unstoppable on offense. They have given up some points defensively. So, but again, I think it's what we talked about last week, previewing the University Marshall game. Which University team are we going to get? But I'm kind of leaning towards Bastrop in this one, just with how phenomenal their offense has been. And because Waco U's given up some points here and then, too. They gave up 47 to Shoemaker, 35 to Lamb Passes, 43 to Keller Central, and again, the 60-23 loss to Killeen Ellison in the district finale as well. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards Bastrop in this one.
I'm going to go University. I don't think we're going to see the letdown that we saw after the next week after the Brenham big game against Brenham. I think, like you said, what University team's going to show up. I don't know if Savoy Nichols is healthy. That may.
Really?
I think I might have saw where he went out in that Fort Bend game. I should have looked. If he's healthy, I think University can do it, and I think their backup's capable because I think he came in and did some damage. So I'm going University. I'm going U-Dogs, as they call them in Waco.
All righty. South side of Waco. I'm going to take Bastrop in this one. And that is it for our area round preview across Central Texas. A lot of great games this week. I picked – it feels like I picked more outside of Central Texas than I normally would this week. I went homer a couple times, but not overall. But yeah, it still should be a great slate of games, Kenny.
Yeah, you didn't go Kenny homer. I'll go homer on you quick, man. Hey, thank you to Matt Stepp for the question of the week. Thank you to Sideline to Sideline, L4 Media. Thank you to Gilda Godfrey and My Community Mortgage, Ranch Masters, and to Reed Christmas Lighting. That's our sponsors this year. We still got a couple more weeks to go, so it's kind of winding down. Our game schedule, it's going to be cut in half.
Probably so.
Next week, but as long as we'll record anyway. But hopefully, there's a couple of Central Texas teams. I think La Vega and Bremond are definitely could be in there. You may have a wild card team like a Axtell or somebody like that sneaks into the regional finals or semifinals, and Crawford, somebody like that.
There you go. So, should be a good one. Go out and watch some football. Thanks again to everyone. Like you said, Matt Stepp, all of our sponsors, and again, everyone at L4 Media, Brett, Terry, Grant, Noe, all those guys. Appreciate everyone at L4 Media, and thank you guys for tuning in to the Central Texas Football Podcast, and we will see you next week for the regional semifinal preview. And go out. It's going to be rainy out there. Make sure you bring your poncho, but go out and watch some football.